Hello and welcome into another episode of the Mind Your Business podcast, streaming through Buzzsprout and here on YouTube, thanks in partnership to our friends at Appalachian Commercial Real Estate and Appalachian Regional Healthcare System. I'm David Jackson, President and CEO of the Boone Area Chamber of Commerce. And this week on the program, we're talking about local resources for hiring staff. So many of you looking for a way to complement or fill out the staff that you need to do the business that you do in this community. And while some of you have been successful in managing that HR perspective for yourselves, oftentimes there are external resources that are needed to bring businesses to their full staffing level. So we are talking with one of those businesses today on the program. James Wheeler joining us from Elk River Company. We'll hear more in just a moment about the services that they provide and some of what they're seeing on the ground from this perspective. But I think as we get started in this conversation, it's important to note that we have resources available to assist businesses in this way throughout our community. And as you think about what your staffing needs are, especially as we get ready to ramp up into the fall, don't feel like you've got to do it alone, whether that's posting jobs on the Chamber Career Center, engaging with NC Works, or working with a private company like Elk River Company. There are people that are trained to find the staff that you need to do the business you do, and we're going to identify one of those sources here today. So without any further ado, James Wheeler on the program with us. Welcome, James, to Mind Your Business.
Thanks for having me, David. Appreciate it.
So tell us a little bit to start about Elk River Recruiting Company. What led you down this particular road as a career path, and how has your company evolved in that process?
So I think we have to take my career back to its start, which, fresh out of college after my first degree, I became a logistics broker. And in that business, there's a lot of things that go on. Number one, which is securing new business, but the most crucial part, which is servicing that business by finding the contracted carriers they needed in order to get the job done. So I really started my professional career out of college in the contracting space as a freight broker, which led me to where I'm at today. I started out in that business, worked there for 4 years, climbed through the ranks, and then decided to come back to school to learn how to better manage a business and better administrate a business from the technology side of things, which led me into the business that I owned prior to this, which was called Workster, which was a technology company that helped to match, not really match, but help companies manage their independent contractor workforces a bit better. That business has since been closed, and out of its ashes came Elk River Recruiting Company. Which to go on another, down another track here, I also owned a business while I was a freight broker. And when I left the freight brokerage position, I started a company to do liquidation advertising. So I've worked in that space, recruiting day laborers and doing such like that for the past 5 years now. And that's still a line of business that we offer. But I guess you could say my entire professional career, I have matched people with jobs and, found ways to get work done. So that's kind of my career path so far and what's led me to today.
Well, I wonder if you can touch for just a second on the 1099 aspect of this, because in this community, there are certainly a number of businesses, especially those with seasonal employees, that have 1099 staff members. And that became a magnified talking point during COVID as we saw PPP money lent to businesses based on the number of full-time employees they had. And oftentimes 1099 employees led to some pretty complicated curveballs. How have you seen staffing change after that fact of knowing that while sometimes 1099 employees are the easiest things to do, when you're talking about trying to employ people for long term, it seems like that lack of maybe permanence can be a detractor for some. Have you seen it kind of work out that way?
Yes and no. I think the biggest thing we've seen, or that I've seen since the days of COVID, was that the government started to look a lot more closely at what was an independent contractor. Our companies using this title and this correctly, I should say, our companies labeling and classifying the people that they employ correctly. And that's probably the biggest issue I think that came out of COVID. not issue, but topic around labor and employment was, are we classifying independent contractors correctly? And that's something that the company I owned prior to this tried to help with, which was proper classification. Um, and I think there was a second part to your question, but I want to make sure I answered that. What was that, David?
No, you got that right. I think that the second part was really in this day and age of employees seeking things like benefits, flexibility, maybe it's paid time off, whatever that is. Do you see that maybe some of those people that settled for 1099 employment before are maybe looking for a little bit something more concrete when they're engaging with employers?
I have to say, since we work in such a broad area with our recruiting, we don't only work in the high country in Western North Carolina. We operate in several states on the East Coast and across many different walks of life. So a lot of different jobs that we help to fill. I would say that it's become more complicated. I think that folks enjoy the flexibility of remote work. I think that folks enjoy being able to build their own schedules. I think that folks enjoy a lot of things that come with, I guess you should say, a contracted slash gig slash seasonal job. They enjoy the freedom that that brings. However, what makes this conversation complicated is there are a lot of folks that are looking for what you're talking about, which is something that is predictable, solid, benefits rich, but still provides flexibility. So I think that we've seen the workforce, especially with remote work, um, start to create a new type of employment where there is a bit more flexibility built into the day to day, a lot less contracting than there used to be. I wouldn't say a lot less, I'd say it's in a different form. Um, and that's really, I think, the biggest thing that we've seen coming out of this is I think that folks really enjoy the flexibility of being able to control their own careers. So I wouldn't say we've seen a decrease in folks wanting to be contracted versus employed, but it's really just it's a very gray area when it comes to the classification.
So I guess that leads us well into what you've done with Elk River Recruiting Company to address a variety of needs now, whether that's temporary staffing, finding people that may be more on that full-time track, but probably working with some businesses that just don't have the robust HR staff to execute a search and uncover all of the stones that sometimes it takes to fill a job. So what was it that helped you inform what you want to do with this new business, and what types of services do you provide now with Elk River Recruiting Company?
So what we provide is really a number of different, I guess you should say, staffing services. We like to differentiate staffing away from recruiting or from recruiting. Recruiting, we step in and help a business fill a role they need. Not just large businesses, but small businesses as well. We work with both. But we step in, be their outsourced partner to help them bring in the labor that they need. We're not putting these folks on a temporary placement schedule, a temp to perm schedule. A lot of times it's more direct placement recruiting. So we work as that third party to help companies advertise their positions and hunt down the folks that they need. Which in our line of business, we like to differentiate from staffing. Staffing is where we come in, provide the workforce that a company needs to get a job done on a temporary basis. And execute our services that way. So we do both of those. More of the direct placement recruiting is more along the lines of what we do now. But we do also offer temporary staffing services for the hospitality, restaurant, and event spaces. And yeah, that's our current service offering. We do also offer consulting services for our customers, so to help them figure out, if they don't necessarily want us to be their recruiter, we can help them to be able to sell their jobs better, to be able to find the right candidates. So we do offer a blend of services. And again, I think there was a second part to your question there, and I tend to get ahead of myself. So what was the other part, David?
No, I think you answered all of that really, and it kind of that leads me to ask you. You mentioned that you do this in a number of markets. What are you seeing now as the general target range? If I'm trying to hire an employee in the high country, what is a realistic expectation for how far of a radius I might need to cast a net to be able to fill the jobs that you see come across, or businesses are talking to you about now?
So I think that that's a multi-part question. One is, what is the job? What is the pay? What are the career benefits to taking this job in Boone, North Carolina? Um, I think another part of this equation is, uh, number one, our housing market here in Boone is wild. So finding a place to stay around the area can be a little difficult. Um, I think to answer the original question, how far would an employer have to cast a net? I think that that's it's a it depends question. So if you're looking at um, a standard hourly employee where it's more of an entry level job, I guess you should say, um, anywhere within an hour, I think, but it depends on which direction you go in. If you travel down 321 south, to bring someone up here an hour away might be a little difficult. Um, but to our neighbors to the west and to the northwest and southwest, even from Boone, an hour net could be a good radius. For more mid-level management, experience type roles, I think that an hour and a half, 2 hours is not out of the realm, and even relocation could be something uh, that could be entertained.
When you are talking with employees, potential employees, as you're recruiting, what are the things that matter most to employees as they're looking at job descriptions and maybe wanting to go down the road of accepting a position? What are the things that are making them say yes today?
So, from an employee's perspective, because we do operate a two-sided marketplace here, we do advocate for our customers being the companies, but our secondary customer, I would almost say a primary customer, are the recruits, the candidates. And from the candidate or recruits perspective, the most important thing that we've been able to surmise is that they are looking for, one, a quality workplace where they feel appreciated. They're looking for a place that can offer them the work life balance that they're looking for. So a lot of folks nowadays are looking for, pay may not be the most important thing to a lot of people. It's, how do I feel I am treated at this workplace? What is the climate, the attitude that this particular company is portraying? That's probably the biggest factor. Benefits, of course, are very important. Folks are very conscious of good benefits packages, but I would say, as compared to 5, 6, 7 years ago, well, I think 5, 6, 7 years ago, I'm thinking more towards the 2008 to about the 2015 range. Um, I think that folks don't look at the benefits as much as they look at the pay nowadays. I think that a lot of folks tend to look more at the pay and the environment, and benefits come in maybe a third place for that. But that's just what we found um, in our experiences, and that may not be the case across the entire industry.
When you're matching up with an employer that is utilizing your services, what do you feel like some of the best things that you can offer? Say that small business that maybe stretched pretty thin. Obviously, they are if they're looking to you for staffing. But what are the sweet spots that you find that you can take off the plate of an employer that's looking to match up with some of the employees you just identified?
So I think the biggest thing that we bring to the table for our customers, being the companies, is that we take away the 70% of the time that you spend sifting through resumes, hunting for the person, doing preliminary interviews, vetting potential candidates. We take away that part of the headache for you as a recruiter. We interview these folks to your standards. We make sure that they're a good culture fit for your company. We weed out the ones that may not be such a good fit, either personality or professional wise, or either the personality or their professionalism and their experience. So we really take away the 70 to 75% of the time that a standard HR recruiter in a company would spend trying to get to the right candidate. That's what we do for our direct placement type hires. And for our staffing services, our temp staffing services, we really take away the headache that a lot of companies in this area and across really the Southeast face by having to, one, locate folks that are looking to work on a temporary basis, two, dispatch and really do the initial management of those workers, and three, we take the burden of employment off the hands of the company and bring that in-house here. So I think that would be what we do to help our customers just work more effectively and take a load off of their backs.
I was talking with a local business just a few weeks ago, and they were in the middle of hiring, and they were using Indeed as the platform for that. And as you see with a lot of these third-party web-based companies, I think the comment that she made to me was, "I was afraid to click on the boxes because I didn't know what that would do to the price that I'm going to be charged for recruiting and ultimately filling a position." When it comes to how you structure that billing part or what you'll be paid for those services, is that something that is dependent on how a position gets filled, or is that a flat rate, or maybe a little bit of both?
So we approach every situation in direct placement recruiting differently. There's a number of different factors that go into play. One is the volume of the business that we're looking at. Two, it's the difficulty of the position to fill, so the amount of time that we have to put into advertising and filling the position and vetting the candidates. And three, the most important thing is, what is the job? So that's what we base our pricing off of. And in some cases, there is a flat rate that we do charge, and then in some cases, it's more of a percentage-based model. And I would have to say that what we do typically is we provide a unique quote for every one of our customers to fit their unique situation. No two businesses are alike, and therefore no two services for your customer should be alike. We aim to provide 100% of our effort to our clients, and we also understand that small businesses don't have giant pocketbooks, so that we do have options for small businesses to help them fill their positions. So every situation is unique with our recruiting service, which may not be super easy for someone that's shopping with us initially, but we always offer a free consultation, 30 minutes, to figure out if we are the right service for your company, and move forward from there. And we make sure that every option that we provide to our customer is something that we feel is going to generate a good ROI for them.
You mentioned something that is spot on. There is no one business in this community that looks like the business next door. Everybody's got a unique aspect. A number of seasonal businesses that can see needs for staffing rise and fluctuate just with the changing of the calendar. Can you give us a little bit of an example of the types of categories that you've performed best in, or maybe that you really seek out in terms of that help? And then maybe some that are a little off the grid or off the radar that they might not necessarily think that recruiting services were what they need, but you were able to help satisfy those staffing needs.
So far, the majority of our staffing services have been in the advertising field, and most of that has been out of the Boone area. We have recently come into the event staffing space in the Boone area. So event centers, a lot of places around here that provide those type of services could really benefit from our help. So whether that be functions on the university's campus, I believe that we could help a lot with that and helping them staff those and take some of the burden of employment off of their hands and some of the recruiting troubles that they have. That's something that we could help a lot with. A lot of the hospitality around here, I know right now, is a huge time for the hotels and resorts in this area to begin thinking about what they're going to do over the next 3 to 4 months as we're coming into our true busy season up here. That's something that we could really help out a lot with. And really, as far as the other staffing services, I think that any type of attraction-based business that operates seasonally could benefit from some of the options that we have. in terms of staffing or recruiting. Like I said, we're not just your typical recruiter that passes out 25% of yearly salary quotes. We look at the situation uniquely, and we provide pricing and service according to what the business needs.
Yeah, I'll give you the opportunity to tell people here in just a moment how they can get in contact with Elk River Recruiting Company, and we'll make sure to share that in the show notes below. But you're out in the marketplace perhaps more than anybody else right now. If you were to give people that are seeking staff maybe 3 or 4 bullet points of advice before getting into the job search right now, based on the market that you see, what would those 3 or 4 things might be to expect as they enter into the process?
So I think the number one thing is truly evaluate what you want out of the position. Truly know what you're trying to staff. Too often do we come into businesses that approach a job search like a shotgun blast, which in some cases that's okay, but really to get the best ROI out of the person that you're looking for, you need to be really targeted and really be patient if you can be. Now, not every situation is the same, but if you can be patient, be focused, and be willing to accept feedback from the folks that you're interviewing. And, just for example, if you interview 10 people and only 2 people seem to really want the position, then maybe there needs to be some reflection done on your part to figure out, okay, what do we need to do? Do we need to focus more, or do we need to accept feedback? What do we need to do? So I think those would be the 3 things that I would recommend to every company is be focused and just really listen to your customer, which is ultimately the person you're trying to hire.
Very well said. Well, James, if anybody would like to talk further about how Elk River Recruiting Company can help them in their next search, what's the easiest way to get in touch with you and your team?
So we have a website, which is elkrivercompany.com. You can go there, and my phone number, my business partner's phone number is listed there. But also, I would say probably the easiest and most surefire way to get a hold of us, because we're on the phone all day long, is to shoot us a quick email at info@elkrivercompany.com, and we'll be sure to get back to you as soon as possible. But other than that, you can also give me a call, and my number is listed on the website. But if you need that, it's 828-726-7235. I'd be happy to help.
And if you're a Boone Area Chamber of Commerce member, you saw some information from Elk River Recruiting Company come out in Chamber Report last week, as well as a standalone Chamber email as well. So you've got that contact info right there in your email inbox. James, how many minutes do you spend on the phone in a given day?
I'm a young business owner, so I would imagine I'm on the phone a good 6 to 7 hours out of the day.
How about that? Well, you need some sort of like points system for that, where you can get rewards like a trip or something after finishing off a long project. That's right. That's right. Well, James, thank you very much for your time. It's certainly a very valuable service you're providing here in our community and throughout the region. And we look forward to checking in with you again as we see the needs for staffing change in our region. Being able to connect with somebody that's kind of out in front of some of those changes will be awfully beneficial to many of the businesses that are relying on support, especially as we move into some of these busy times of year. So thanks for what you're doing in our community. We look forward to talking to you again soon.
All right. Thank you, David.
All right. Thanks for joining us for this episode of Mind Your Business, again brought to you by Appalachian Commercial Real Estate and Appalachian Regional Healthcare System. So long, everybody.